Where Winds Meet is one of the biggest games to release this year, combining action, MMO, and Souls-like elements into the perfect package. So in this video, I'm gonna try to beat the game without attacking normally. Can you beat Where Winds Meet without attacking normally? What does that even mean? Well, in this game, there are light attacks, heavy attacks, and skills, but we're not going to be allowed to use either of the first two. Instead, we'll have to rely on mystic arts, parries, and skills because neither of these use light or heavy attack inputs. Just to be on the safe side, I have completely removed both of these options from my controls, and while we will obviously still be attacking in this video, let's see if it's possible to beat this game without attacking normally. Before we begin, it is my favorite time of the year and it's been a while since we did a giveaway, so I'll be giving away $50 randomly to 2 of you who comment below which game you think deserve to win Game of the Year. I'll be responding to the winners over the next few days, and thanks to Everstone Studio for partnering with me on this video. When the game starts, we're introduced to the main character who's resting in a forest guarding a baby when he's startled by an old friend. We get ambushed by a gang of horsemen who desperately want our pendant, the Jangwan Jade. However, we can't let them have it, so we take off running, and this is when we encounter our first problem of the run. Because we can't use light or heavy attacks, I actually have no way of completing certain QuickTime events, so I'm just forced to fail them. Luckily, it doesn't have any real impact on the outcome of this cutscene or the run for that matter, so we're able to make it through, and after taking in some very gorgeous visuals, we're introduced to the grafted scion of this game. Our goal right now is to get comfortable enough with our controls to beat the Void King. This game's bosses have health bars and chi bars, which are basically their stamina. If you can deflect or block enough attacks, then you can exhaust their chi bar to get a stance break for an execution. Execution attacks are basically this game's version of a riposte, and with this challenge's rule set, we are allowed to use them because they don't require a light or heavy attack input. In fact, it's a completely different button altogether. Regardless of whether or not you beat the Void King, the scripted cutscene is always going to be the same. It always ends with a Chinese Sephiroth possessing him with an insect and our friend from earlier dealing the final blow. At this point, I had a few choices for what to do next, but decided that my first priority should be getting stronger, because at the end of this chapter is a pretty scary boss. On top of weapon skills, we can also master mystic arts, which are cooldown based abilities that you find throughout the world or unlock through quests. After showing off for Ruby, our moral compass and permanent companion, I completed the bow minigame and unlocked my first mystic skill, Still Waters, which I didn't really use much because it kinda sucks. I then made my way down towards the nearby village where I accepted a quest that let me learn Tai Chi from a nearby bear. Before meeting up with Ruby, I decided to test out my newfound skills on this game's version of the Tree Sentinel. Just like in Elden Ring, you're not supposed to fight this guy so early, but most adventurers just can't resist. If you lock in and play perfectly, then it is possible to win this, but that is much easier said than done. At this level, weapon skills are not very useful. They do terrible damage and the cooldown is way too long to wait for. That's when I switched over to parries, and once I emptied his chi bar and finally got the stance break, the execution attack that followed was devastating. Combining these with our weapon skill, Fearless Lunge, and a little bit of patience, I was able to get the puppeteer into phase 2, and that's when this challenge started to seem possible. Following the main story to the General Shrine, I repoed a horse from a horse thief and won the arena match for some talent points and a prize. The plan at this point was simple: level up, collect as many useful skills as I could, and take on the first main story boss, the Heartseeker. This boss wields a massive scythe, teleports around the arena, and has a one-shot attack in her second phase. While she is technically an early game boss, I had no idea if skills alone would be enough to take her down. I did have a plan though, and that required collecting a very specific set of skills. First up on my to-do list was to reach level 5 and unlock some martial skill upgrades that increased our damage. After that, I picked up 2 2 Mystic Arts, Meridian Touch for puzzles, and Celestial Seas for disarming opponents. Progressing the main questline earned me a couple more talent points, which I spent on passive stat bonuses, and before pushing the story further, I grabbed Touch of Death for stealth takedowns to help clear out enemy encampments. I was asked to investigate trouble at the Porcelain Inn, where a Jianghu warrior challenged me to an unwinnable fight. He revealed himself to be Killer Blade and took me hostage, but I escaped during a horse ride through the Ghost Temple. I came across the Evercare Clinic and upgraded my medicine charge twice. The insane health bonus from Wind Beneath Wings meant that I wouldn't need healing outside of boss fights for now, but it's still nice to have. From the clinic upstairs, I used fire to clear vines blocking the well and discovered a dungeon underneath. The whole place was dark, and despite trying to charge through the darkness, I was forced to use fire to progress. Completing the dungeon got me to level 15, where I could perform a level breakthrough and raise the level cap further. The combat trial that followed showed some limitations with my DPS, and I quickly discovered that the nameless martial skill was going to be useless. The mystic arts I had didn't really contribute to damage while my martial skill was on cooldown, and I realized that I needed some more offensive martial arts too. The treasure room let me preview 3 more martial arts weapons: the strategic sword, the Heavenquake spear, and the Panacea fan. I decided on the sword because its martial skill sets up perfectly for Sword Horizon, which is an inner way that I'll be unlocking later on, and its special skill would also keep my rotation seamless when my other abilities were on cooldown. I continued down the dungeon before reaching the nightmare area where the first main story boss was waiting for me. During the boss fight, I was able to use the special skill of the strategic sword. This came right on time because my build was starting to show some cracks, and this new ability thrown into the rotation obliterated the first health bar of the Heartseeker. Even though I took a lot of damage in phase 2, the fight was still decisively in my favor. After exiting the Dream and dungeon, the game reminded me about the Puppeteer and how he was still at large destroying players, so I figured it was the perfect time to go back and get my revenge. The rematch was a bloodbath thanks to my upgraded equipment and skills. Using both swords, I could quickly switch between martial arts and special skills, and the aggression was non-stop. I still needed better mystic arts though, so next I headed to the palace to unlock Talon Strike. From there I crossed the rope bridge, cut down a bunch of enemies, and then completed the skill theft minigame for another inner way. Following the main quest, Killer Blade has found me again. Turns out my convenient escape earlier was staged, and now we're being attacked by thugs. Following Killer Blade in the dungeon, I eventually rescued my friends and fought the second main boss of the story, Dalong. After the fight, it was revealed that Aunt Han and Killer Blade seemed to know each other. Aunt Han grounded me by forcing me to copy books, a duty I delegated to Ruby in exchange for introducing her to Killer Blade later. After the following cutscene, the second level breakthrough became available. Beating the combat trial got me access to martial skill breakthroughs, making them stronger and granting special passive bonuses. Aunt Han decided to migrate the clan outside of Heaven's Pier, but John wished for a different fate and teamed up with Killer Blade to go to Kaifeng City, bidding farewell to Ruby. I leveled up to 23 and unlocked the dual weapon skill talent, which eliminated the few seconds of downtime between switching weapons, letting both skills flow together seamlessly. On the way to meet up with Killer Blade and leave Qingha, I reached level 25 and unlocked Mystic Arts upgrades. I didn't have enough of the resource yet, but I still upgraded Talon Strike a couple of times. From then on, I followed the main story. Before departing, an invasion force attacked Blissful Retreat, and after a pointless fist fight while people were actively dying, seriously, what was that? Zhang and Killer Blade attempted to hold back the siege. The very long gauntlet of enemies went well thanks to all of my skills, and Wind Beneath Wings helped keep me alive. At this point, the build's playstyle flowed very well. I used Nameless Sword's martial skill as a great gap close tool, then unleashed its full combo. From there, I could either backstep away with the special skill if I was in danger, or play more aggressively by chaining it into the dual weapon skill. Deflections or talent strikes help reduce the downtime if I ever ran out of endurance or got interrupted. I did consume my 2 medicine vials when pressured by troops reinforced by a buffing enemy, but eventually fought through the siege waves anyway. That brought me to the third main story boss, Qianye the Witch. This formidable foe was much harder than previous bosses, and her second phase came with incredible visuals alongside difficult attack patterns.
I might have been able to clutch out a victory on my first try, but unfortunately my 2 heals from earlier did not get restored. I ended up dying in phase 2. The rematch was as close as ever, and I managed to defeat the witch in her illusory realm. In the cutscene sequence that followed, a laughably large number of enemies kept appearing over and over, and we only made it out thanks to Killer Blade's sacrifice. Unfortunately, Ruby and John were also presumed dead. After an epic and very unexpected horse gameplay section, I met up with John again, and that ended the journey in Qingha, bringing us to Kaifeng City. Starting day 2, I still needed better mystic arts. The plan was to unlock Drunken Poet by drinking with the honest merchant in Harvest Fall Village. The catch was that I'd need to drink expensive wine until I got alcohol poisoning and then pay to cure it. Bottle after bottle later, this is productive I swear, I finally got the poisoning and wasted effect I was looking for, and this unlocked the skill. Slowly, very slowly, I reached the medicine maiden who cured me for 13,000. This whole ordeal took me from 250k down to 140k, and I need to make that back since a later inner way would cost me even more. I tested the new skill on the nearby mysterious outpost and it did very decent damage, although my martial skills were still carrying most of the weight. Conveniently, the chest had 11 upgrade materials, so I leveled up Drunken Poet 5 times. Kaifeng's campaign was locked behind level 32, and I was still sitting at 29. I needed to run the Gleaming Abyss side campaign for experience points and to unlock the level breakthrough, but there was a problem. The dungeon had a puzzle that required shooting vines, and while the bow was allowed in this run because it didn't use light or heavy attack inputs, I still wanted to try to use it as little as possible. I approached the colossal statue, had a vision of a spirit deer, and wait, did I just murder those people in cold blood? Deeper in the cave, I hit a puzzle with 3 spirit deer echoes. The first 2 were easy, but the third requires shooting vines off of a statue to cross toxic water. That's where the bow came in. I decided to try and cheese it with parkour and brute force, and it almost worked out at one point. After dying multiple times on the main path, I noticed a small island under the barrier bridge, and this distance looked just close enough to make it, so I went for it. Surprisingly, I actually made it, thanks to the Guardian Chi Core keeping me alive at the end. A gauntlet of enemies jumped me on the other side, but they were no problem for my drunken fist. I grabbed the key, completed a building minigame where I briefly became a Disney princess, then came face to face with an old friend, the Void King. This fight went way better. Aside from getting stun locked by a whirlwind combo with some weird deflect timings, his goal of offering 1,000 heads to the Abyss Divinity fell short by 1. For finishing the dungeon, I was rewarded with Inner Way Bitter Seasons. I wasn't planning on using it, but I had an open slot anyway, so I decided why not. Despite hitting level 30, the breakthrough wasn't available yet, but I could still bank XP and keep progressing while I waited. Level 30 but no breakthrough yet, the main story was blocked, so I spent the time farming and upgrading materials. I casually learned to fly, then spotted a 35,000 XP reward from the Palace campaign, so I decided to head over. My dual sword setup worked great for one-on-ones, but I needed something better for crowds. The dungeon was fairly straightforward until the end, where I ran into the lucky 17th boss. Phase 1 was easy after learning his moves, but phase 2 hit hard. That cutscene hit harder though, and it made me actually feel bad for the guy. Beating him gave me a ton of experience and the Vital Leech Inner Way for 8% lifesteal. That would have been great early game, but I didn't really see a use for it now. The real prize was a martial arts breakthrough tome for the Bellstrike Splendor path. This was gonna come in handy big time, but I couldn't use it until after the level breakthrough. After another stealth skill theft minigame and looting a purple spear from a chest, I decided to unlock its skills. The rotation felt pretty good. I could fire off special skills twice before running out of endurance and then switch to the sword right as the cooldown ended. Since I now had 2 weapons on the Bellstrike Umbra path, I needed Umbra breakthrough tomes, so I killed the Void King a few more times to stock up. Still waiting on the breakthrough, I unlocked Sandara Land, a smaller region north of Qingha that's crawling with rogue monks in their outposts. I found a deep swamp with alligators, pushed through and fought some berserker soldiers who were guarding war drums. After clearing 2 more and heading to the village in the center, I got teleported to a Memory of War and faced General Yi. This fight reminded me of Gyobu from Sekiro, and it was just as punishing. He didn't flinch at all from my skill combos, and his halberd kept interrupting me the entire time. Eventually I switched over to a defensive deflection heavy style, which helped out a lot, and after defeating him, he dropped another Jade Stone, just like the one from Lucky 17. The level breakthrough finally opened up. The combat trial threw a monk at me with a chi shield that made draining his meter impossible. Luckily, Meridian Touch shut that down immediately. I equipped my fresh level 30 gear and broke through my martial skills, unlocking powerful passives and more stat upgrades. I also got another inner way slot and a new feature called the Inner Ways Breakthrough. This lets you massively upgrade your inner ways with new passives and mechanics like damage resistance and lifesteal. My next inner ways were waiting for us in Kaifeng City, so it was finally time to continue the story. On my way out, I overheard two monks talking about a Buddha light jade, referencing the two pieces I picked up. We'll have to see if they come in handy for later. Day 3 started with a notification about a new campaign boss, likely related to the Buddha Light Jade. He was in Kaifeng, so I figured I'd check him out later. I ran into some scam artists, beat him up, but the cutscene showed me in trouble anyway. A cute girl with a cat saved me and invited me to dinner. Then she ran away without paying. I hate when that happens. She forced me to scam the restaurant myself, but at least I got a clue about the person I was looking for. After a tedious trading quest to try to make some money back, a little girl escorted me into Kaifeng City proper. The living conditions were harsh, and everyone blamed something called the Universal Furnace. I unlocked the map and spotted the Taiping Mausoleum trials, which I was going to need for the next level breakthrough. After more questing, I finally unlocked free roaming, and it was time to grab some new inner ways and mystic arts. The next story quest required level 41 anyway, so this was going to keep me busy until the time gate. I stepped into the Forsaken Quarters and got called by an unknown voice. The whole sequence was a fever dream, and I honestly have no clue what happened. They gave me the Ghost Bind, which paralyzes up to 6 enemies for 5 seconds. This was going to be huge for opening fights and setting up combos. My next objective was the Ghostlight Market. I crawled into a creepy dollhouse and stepped into a coffin, which was very Dark Souls, which dropped me into this haunting underground area. A clue pointed me toward a new inner way, which was somewhere nearby. I got lost in the market for a while, but eventually found the bookstore where I could buy unknown old books for a chance at learning Sword Horizon. The books were very expensive though, and after reaching 80% comprehension, I'd burned through all 284,000 gold. I was gonna have to farm more and come back. I needed gold and XP, and the Taiping Mausoleum trials could give me both while unlocking the level breakthrough requirement. On my way there, I overheard a clue about another inner way, and this was going to be my last one. Pure coincidence, but the search area was right behind the trial, so I was going to be busy. I cleared the first 2 floors effortlessly thanks to my mystic arts. This unlocked the breakthrough requirement and brought me back up to 27,000 gold, so I maxed out Ghostbind alongside my other 2 main arts. I switched to a warmer outfit because it was getting cold, then discovered I needed level 5 solo mode to continue the trials. The time gate was blocking me again, but that's okay because I had other things to do anyway. I headed to the marked search area and got the quest A Faltering Flame from a monk who needed me to reunite him with his 3 old friends. Afterward, I talked to a former lamp thief, met a devoted blind lady, fought a thug, and heard the monk's troubling backstory. Completing it all gave me inner way 5-fold bleed. I still had 1 inner way left, but still needed the money to get it. I ran some Meow Meow challenges, looted city chests, and completed a couple quests until I hit 85k, and that was enough for another try at the bookstore. 2 more books later, I finally got lucky and hit the remaining 20% comprehension. Inner way Sword Horizon was finally mine, and I still had 60k to spare. Later that day, the level breakthrough became available, and I got the reward instantly without a combat trial. The Taiping Mausoleum probably counted as a test, and this would likely be my last breakthrough for the challenge. I equipped my new level 41 gear, slotted Sword Horizon into the 4th and final inner way slot, then upgraded my strategic sword and Heaven Quaker Spear to tier 3. Day 4 meant Reverie Hall and the main story. After sneaking into the Heroes Assembly and witnessing a very cool cutscene, I ended up in charge of solving a mystery. A strange mask led me to an expert who told me about the Ghost Market. John acted surprised even though we'd literally been there yesterday. Meeting the ferryman triggered a bunch of chases throughout the neighborhood until I got saved by a granny who I bought turtles from the other day. Her daughter turned out to be the one who stood me up at the restaurant, and all 3 characters I met were running a coordinated scam on me. The time gate hit again since the next quest required level 52. While waiting, I completed 1,000 Buddhist quests for my final mystic art and helped a monk with some spirit rituals. After clearing 2 more Taiping floors against a buffed Void King, I met the final level breakthrough requirements and pushed into the main quest. The team decided to trail the Tang coins to find the vessel. A coin inspector took what we gathered, but Little Fu rescued us with a distraction. Somehow, she'd gotten her hands on the gold-making vessel and ran underground, so I followed. Fighting through the unbound cavern, I hit a boss with this annoying mechanic where his bird healed him to full unless I took care of it. Ghostbind worked once to interrupt the heal, but the second time it didn't. Luckily, he was low enough though for me to finish him anyway. Deeper in, I found Little Fu in a cavern with a giant rat mask where the Dao Lord waited. Phase 1 was easy, but then he split into 3 kids. Halfway through, they went underground with a mechanic that required ranged attacks to hit
hit him. When all was said and done, the triplets revealed that the gold-making vessel was fake the entire time and it was just an illusion by the Emperor of the East. Back at Granny's house, Lord Shi attacked and Ying stepped in to stop him, revealing herself as the Emperor of the East. Jean escaped, but soldiers took her to the furnace. Sneaking in, I overheard workers talking about a god of fortune. As it turns out, Lord Shi was that figure, only the Dao girls called him the black god of avarice instead. At the furnace's peak, I found a massive sea of gold, and after an elevator ride, the black god himself. Following a horrifying cutscene, the fight began. This one was brutal, and it did take a couple of attempts. He hit hard with a combination of fast attacks, golden moves that couldn't be deflected, and red grabs. In phase 2, he went forward on with 2 large swords doubling as a twin blade. After many close calls and some clutch dodges, I managed to beat this phase as well. Then phase 3 started. He shot wind waves at me like the divine dragon from Sekiro, and deflecting did nothing, so I had to shoot him. Three arrows to the eye later, an awesome cinematic played as Jean slayed the god of avarice. In the end, Big Yao, Ying Ying, and Granny Turtle all looked hopeful. The government stepped in to fix the economy, and Ying Ying promised to help find Aunt Han. With that, the first 2 chapters of the game came to a close. If you're willing to count a few bow attacks, then it is possible to beat Where Winds Meet with only skills. Honestly, I still can't believe this game is free, and I'm really looking forward to future updates and maps. Hopefully you enjoyed this short break from Elden Ring content. Up next is another boss playthrough, so go ahead and subscribe because YouTube doesn't always recommend.